Hey guys, Eric and Roth here to talk about this week's Arrow, Nanda Parbat. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but there's a lot of pronunciations on the show itself.
Yeah, I mean, it did sound a little, welcome to Nanda Parbat.
Welcome.
Yes.
Full spoilers, though, follow, so if you haven't seen this episode, here we go. You're still with us? All right, this was a big episode in a couple ways. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, actually several ways, but we're going to focus on a couple topics. Let's talk about the end, though, and Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, they say both, making that big offer to Oliver. What did you think after all the build-up?
I feel like Oliver's first decision is how he's going to pronounce his name.
It's
the first big decision. Yeah, I mean, it was a really interesting thing, and it's funny, pieces of me wondered if he wasn't testing him by killing him. Like, oh, well, if you can survive my death blow and come back, then maybe I actually want you to do this gig.
Yeah.
Like as if that was an interview, you know, for the job.
It made me actually kind of hopeful because one thing I'd had an issue with this season is that they'd kept him off screen so much.
Yeah.
And it was weird to just have him talked about and, oh my gosh, he's such a threat, we have to face him. And that was a great episode. We talked about the mid-season finale was great. The one episode we really got a spotlight on him, but then he was gone for weeks.
Yeah.
And it felt like a really weird choice. This kind of makes me understand it a little more because otherwise it would be a lot of coy scenes about what I have planned for Oliver, and then they're trying to fake us out. So I'm like, okay, I hope that kind of does justify retroactively keeping him off screen that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I had thought that he was going to invite him to be a member of the League. Mm-hmm. You know, I had thought that that's where this was heading because I remember even in my interview with Raish, that I was like, you know, do you think that he could take on a mentor sort of role with Oliver?
Yeah.
And he's like, maybe. He did the actor thing.
Right.
Oh, you might be onto something. But I didn't think it would be this. Mm-hmm. And I think it is a really interesting, I don't think it makes me feel like the way they cast him in terms of making him look a little more world weary makes so much more sense now. Because maybe he's just tired and he's tired of doing this gig. Will Oliver really do it? No. The show is called Arrow, not the guy that then became the guy that fought Batman. Well, although that would be awesome.
That would be an amazing title. And maybe he'll say yes initially, but yes, he's not going to be Arrow season 4 will not be him, you know, still doing this.
Still being rich. Yeah, like, I although again, like there was a small part of me that's like, and then 2 years down the line, he fights Batman.
Right.
Which will not happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting, because I think that also too, and we'll get to this later, but the reason that they had Felicity finally sort of let go of her dream of Oliver and enter the reality.
And grab onto her dream of Ray Palmer.
And grab onto that with both hands.
Yes.
I think that the reason that they went there is so that Oliver can even more so feel like, I mean, what do I have in terms of living a full human life anyway?
Yeah, if everything's kind of fallen away. And although it's worth noting in the middle of that, of course, he's trying to save his sister. Andy had a really heartwarming moment with Diggle. It's like my best man, Ra's al Ghul, you know, which would be kind of amazing too. But yeah, I do wonder if he'll kind of, will it be like a greater good thing? Because I did this Q&A, I attended this Q&A with the producers this week, and they said that, you know, because the question did come up about Oliver's trying not to kill, why would he lead the League of Assassins?
Yeah.
But they said they're going to kind of go into what the League really stands for, the traditional sort of beginnings of the word assassin, and kind of that question will be answered. Like Ra's al Ghul himself will talk to Oliver about that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that did strike me as an issue too, just as a viewer, where there was a discrepancy there. Because I mean, to date, we don't really believe that they're the good guys, right? On this series, like these are villains and scary, evil, killing people.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'd really have to go, this is a guy that's all about saving the world. How are you exactly saving the world? You know, and that actually might lead to a really interesting discussion about like sometimes people gotta die.
I do think there's a lot of reasons I am excited by this plot line, because it does open up sort of the League has been present for the entire show. I think it's cool that we're going to get to know them more. I'm actually really excited that it looks like we're going to get to know Nyssa a lot more now. And, you know, there was a lot of talk about that at that Q&A about, you know, if you're the heir to the demon and then you're not chosen as the heir to the demon, what does she do next?
Yeah.
I think we're going to start to sort of see different facets of that character.
Yeah, and I mean, Nyssa is not one to take that kind of hit lying down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's not steeped in diplomacy is what I would say about her.
Right,
you know?
right.
And when I say that that's the perception that they're villains, that's the perception I'm saying on the show from the people who live in Starling City, right?
Yeah.
So like that'll be another really interesting discussion of you're going to do what now, you know, from Team Arrow and things like that, and why, and what does that mean for them? And is Team Arrow about to break up?
Well, I don't know.
Is the band breaking up?
Is the band breaking up? We'll see. Well, let's talk about that, though, because besides that big plot line, in the midst of this, we had the introduction of a brand new superhero into the mix. A big superhero, not just because a big guy plays him, but like what he... visually, what everything he is, and which is obviously Ray becoming the Atom. What did you think of the introduction of the character fully, you know, getting in costume? We just had the little bit, but it was certainly, he got the hero moment. Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I like their dynamic a lot, Ray and Felicity, and I like Brandon Routh. I think he offers such a different tone to the show, where he's just like her. He's very sweet, and he's funny, and he's self-effacing and things like that. So it's kind of refreshing on this series that can get so heavy. And as the producer said, not me, a little soapy, you know? Not everybody's like certainly soapy. So I really enjoyed it. I did like the moment when he flies by the window, because it did, I'm sorry, but it felt a little Superman-y to me. I mean, it was very much the Atom, right? But like...
Well, but let's say everything. I mean, of course, visually also, of course, it was very Iron Man.
Yes.
And that's the funny thing, of course, is because the Atom in the comics is this guy who shrinks down wearing, you know, kind of a latex costume or whatever it's made out of in the comics. And here it's this suit of armor, it flies, which we didn't know about. They kind of kept that a secret. Very Iron Man sort of visuals, but I will have to say, first of all, it looked good.
It did look good.
Again, this is a TV budget. They have to do what they can with the money they can. And that sucker looked very impressive, I thought. The effects looked really good.
And again, I think that especially if he's potentially, at least for a period of time, going down this kind of darker path, then Ray's going to offer a very interesting alternative to that, you know?
And, you know, I do think that they're, obviously, they're very aware, they're steeped in the comics lore. I do think, especially as they're introducing more superpowers into this universe, because there's the Flash, first of all, but now we know that we're going to get a meta-human supervillain coming up on the show, and Ray and Felicity are going to guest star on Arrow to kind of...
On Flash.
On Flash, to meet about it, which I think is they go to kind of get help on his suit.
They do. IGN wrote about that. They do go, in fact, to get some help on the suit and become a little... I think that Ray and Cisco become buddies.
And I think we're gonna get to the size changing.
Yes.
Like maybe it's next year, maybe it's on a spin-off that may or may not happen, but we'll see. You know, but so far I like Ray a lot too, and so I'm excited to see where they go with that. So that's what we thought of the big goings on this week on Arrow. Let us know in the comments what you think. Show's back in a few weeks. We have plenty to talk about till then. For all things Arrow, DC Comics, keep it here at IGN.